In the year 1983, the East German justice system brought former Schutzstaffel, or SS, officer Heinz Barth to trial in East Berlin. Barth, a Sturmbannführer major during World War II, faced grave charges stemming from his actions decades earlier. The central accusation concerned his involvement in the massacre at Oradour, Glane, a small village in occupied France. On June 10, 1944, soldiers of the Der Führer Regiment, part of the 2nd SS Panzer Division des Reich, systematically murdered almost the entire population. During the proceedings, evidence detailed how 642 villagers, including over 200 children, were killed. Men were machine-gunned, women and children were locked in the church, which was then set ablaze. Barth, a platoon leader at the time, was directly implicated in ordering shootings. Barth had lived undetected for many years after the war, eventually settling in East Germany under an assumed identity. His discovery and subsequent prosecution were significant events within the German Democratic Republic's efforts to confront Nazi war crimes. The court found Heinz Barth guilty of war crimes and crimes against humanity for his role in the Oradour-sur-Glane massacre. Consequently, he received a sentence of life imprisonment, reflecting the severity of the atrocities committed. Subsequently, following the reunification of Germany in 1990, Barth's case took an unexpected turn. Despite his conviction for mass murder, legal frameworks in the unified nation led to a surprising outcome. During this period, it emerged that Barth, having lost part of a leg during the war, qualified under certain provisions for compensation given to war-wounded individuals. He began receiving a Kriegsopferent, a pension designated for war victims. This decision sparked considerable controversy and public outcry, particularly in France. The idea that a convicted war criminal received state benefits intended for victims was deeply troubling to many. Eventually, in 1997, after serving years of his sentence, Heinz Barth was released from prison. The release was granted primarily on grounds of his advanced age and poor health. He lived until 2007. The granting of the war victim pension to Barth remained a point of intense, legal and ethical debate even after his release. German law at the time did contain provisions for compensating war-wounded veterans, irrespective of their later criminal convictions, a loophole that generated significant criticism. Efforts were made within Germany to amend the laws governing such pensions. In 2001, the German federal government, responding to sustained pressure, passed legislation aimed at preventing convicted war criminals from receiving these specific benefits. Subsequently, Barth's pension was indeed revoked following the legal changes. This action sought to rectify what many viewed as a profound injustice and a failure of the post-reunification legal system to adequately address the complexities of Nazi-era crimes. Barth's trial in 1983 had been one of the German Democratic Republic's most prominent trials concerning Nazi atrocities. His later treatment in reunited Germany highlighted the different approaches and sometimes conflicting legal principles between the former East and West German systems when dealing with the legacy of World War II. The village of Oradour-sur-Glane itself was deliberately left in ruins after the war, preserved as a permanent memorial and museum by order of President Charles de Gaulle. It stands as a stark reminder of the events of June 10, 1944. Heinz Barth's case underscores the long and often difficult process of achieving justice for wartime atrocities. Decades after the fact, the prosecution, sentencing, subsequent pension award, and eventual release illustrate the enduring complexities and controversies surrounding accountability for acts committed during the conflict. During his trial, Barth maintained he was following orders from his superior, Sturmbannführer Adolf Diekmann, the commander who orchestrated the Oradour operation. The defense of superior orders was a common, though often legally insufficient, plea in war crimes trials following World War II. The East German court, like the Nuremberg tribunals before it, generally rejected the notion that simply following orders absolved individuals of responsibility for participating in atrocities deemed illegal under international law. Barth's personal participation, including allegedly giving the command to shoot a group of male villagers, formed a core part of the prosecution's case. The post-reunification handling of Barth's pension and release contrasted sharply with the sterner approach often taken by the German Democratic Republic courts towards former Nazis. West German jurisprudence sometimes faced criticism for perceived leniency or procedural hurdles in prosecuting Nazi-era crimes compared to the East German system, though both systems had complex records. French authorities and survivor groups consistently voiced strong objections throughout the later stages of Barth's case. The awarding of a pension, even temporarily, was seen as an insult to the memory of the 642 victims of Oradour Glane. The eventual revocation of the pension and Barth's death in August 2007 brought a close to his particular legal saga. Yet the sequence of events served as a potent reminder of the long shadow cast by wartime actions and the persistent challenges in delivering justice across changing political landscapes and legal systems decades after conflict's end. The Oradour Glane massacre itself was framed by the SS as a reprisal. It occurred shortly after the D-Day landings on June 6, 1944, when French resistance activities intensified in the region to support the Allied invasion. SS intelligence had received reports, later proving erroneous, suggesting that a Waffen-SS officer was being held captive by resistance fighters in Oradour, a different nearby village. Confusion between the two locations, combined with the brutal retaliatory doctrines of the SS, led Diekmann's unit to target Oradour Glane. Before Barth's East German trial, a major legal reckoning regarding Oradour had already occurred in Bordeaux, France, in 1953. During that proceeding, 65 surviving members of the Das Reich Division faced charges. 21 defendants were present at the Bordeaux trial. The others, including Heinz Barth, who was then living undetected, were tried in absentia. The trial was complex, particularly because 14 of the accused were Alsatians, French citizens forcibly conscripted into the Waffen-SS, known as the Malgré-Nous, against our will. The Bordeaux verdicts resulted in death sentences for some, including Barth in absentia, and prison terms for others. However, the sentences, especially for the Alsatian conscripts, caused uproar in Alsace, leading to a swift amnesty law passed by the French National Assembly that effectively pardoned or commuted sentences for many, generating lasting bitterness among survivor families. Therefore, Barth's later trial in East Berlin represented a separate, subsequent judicial process under a different legal system. It brought one of the individuals sentenced in absentia decades earlier physically before a court to answer for his actions on June 10, 1944.